Well, let's see. There'd be, I suppose, a lot of things to touch on. First thing, I'd say for me, the most important thing is that I have two amazing kids, and becoming a dad was definitely something that I wanted to be in my life. So I'm very happy that that was something that I achieved, and so I'm really proud of that, about being a dad. In terms of business success, there's been a number of things, along the way. When I was younger, I had, any number of interesting experiences in research, and there were a few things that I wanted to get involved in, and going into government contractors and getting invited into Black Project to design equipment for the Navy's next generation mini sub, which is what led to Lifewave, was really a dream come true. It was an incredible experience. I am very happy to be out of that world, especially now, but it gave birth to Lifewave. And so that was really an incredible journey and an incredible opportunity. And of course, putting 10 years and almost $4.5 million into research, dedicated to coming up with a stem cell product, which led to X39. That's been unbelievably rewarding, because the journey that was the journey was just as rewarding, I suppose, as where we are today. When you're an inventor and you develop things, maybe one out of every 20 or 30 products that you develop are going to turn into something that you actually sell. The reason to create things and run experiments is that it's all about learning. You try to uncover some of the secrets embedded in nature, and then say, okay, well, do I stop here or do I keep going? And that was very much, the evolution with X39. We kept uncovering new and better ways of doing things with stem cells, with X39, being at the pinnacle. And of course, at the end of the day, when you have a product that changes people's lives in such a dramatic way, that's incredibly rewarding.
Yes, it is. It certainly is.
Well, I'm really intrigued by everyone as you're listening to what David is saying. Hey, David, how you doing? Great to see you.
Steve, it's great to see you and spend time with you. And I'm this could be a deep fake, in the future. You could take over for me. I could take a vacation, which
I couldn't tell you how many people in August,
I love it.
They kind of shuffled you out kind of quick in August, so I didn't get to talk to you as much as I'd like to, but they kept telling me in the elevators and everywhere walking, David, come here,
It was crazy.
So it was funny, and I was having fun with the people, getting pictures with them. They probably I got my picture with David. So
that's great. I love it.
So anyways, I love what you said there, and I want people to listen, because, he's talking about 10 years of research, $4.5 million investment, and had the stamina to keep going. He didn't give up, or even he talked about other inventions that he was working on that might not. He used that as a learning curve, and you could use that as a learning curve for you when you're talking to somebody. Maybe they didn't see the opportunity or the product right away, but if you keep at it, you're going to find the right people. I mean, there's too much happening right now with Lifewave, with the X39, that you're not going to have. David's already paved the way, as well as the leaders before you talking about it. But the fact that you have that stamina and that intuition to keep going, I love that message for all the people on here, because it doesn't have to only pertain to an invention. It could be a business,
Yeah, absolutely. The four of us have all been in that place. When I started Lifewave, I took over my son's bedroom. He was 4 years old at the time, and I turned that into my first home office for Lifewave. I had my research lab out of my garage, and that's where I was doing some of my work. I had another lab up in the mountains near Dahlonega, Georgia. For people know where that is, it's actually the site of the gold rush in the United States, interestingly enough. But it's an incredibly important message for entrepreneurs. Lifewave, it took 2 years to get off the ground. And so that meant I had to do clinical research to prove that the prototypes were working. They were doing what we said, had to figure out how to manufacture them in large volume. And then, of course, had to figure out how we're going to market these things. So that was a 2-year process. And before we ever reached the level of success that we have today, We launched the company in 2004, and we took off with our stem cell product in 2018. So, about 14 years of persistence and patience. We did fine, all those years, but nothing like what we're seeing today. So it's a great lesson for entrepreneurs.
And what do you think was your inspiration to start Lifewave? What were you thinking when you were getting started?
Yeah, there's a number of things, like yourselves. I'm a person of faith, and I pray over everything that I do. And usually what I found over the years is that when you pray, God's going to open up doors. And when you're doing something, we see this in our research lab, when we work on something and there's a lot of obstacles, I get the sense, oh, this is not the direction I'm supposed to go in. Something's wrong here. And then you pray over it, and you try another approach. And then all of a sudden, it's like all of those obstacles, fall down. And that's the way that you're supposed to go. And what had happened was I had developed an engine for emergency systems for submarines. And this was a turbine engine, but unlike most turbines, it didn't have any blades inside of it. It worked on a vortex phenomena. And I was driving around. I was driving from Dahlonega back to Beaufort, Georgia, where I was living at the time. And I was driving around this beautiful lake. And the thought came into my mind that there must be a vortex structure inside the cell. And as I began to think about this, I realized what it was. And so then it meant that you could have a device that would communicate to the cells through this vortex channel. I just explained it simply. There's a lot more to it, but it basically meant that. And so I took about 3 years then to try to figure out how to tap into this phenomena, which led to the patches. And they worked the very first time. And I knew I really was onto something.